Welcome to the Movie Business Podcast, picking up where Movie Business Book left off. I'm Jason Squire, hosting a wide range of industry talent and executives to answer fundamental questions about the business today. Here we go. And today we get into the director's unit in the essential work of the second assistant director, or second AD, with Christina Fong. Second AD on an impressive range of movies, including Amsterdam, Birds of Prey, Ad Astra, Bright, The Amazing Spider-Man, 2 National Treasure movies, 2 Charlie's Angels movies, and Office Space. Christina started in the business as a production assistant and rose through the ranks to become a second AD. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here because we want an opportunity to understand the director's unit through your essential work. So what are the secrets of the second AD, including, defining first and second ADs and UPM, Unit Production Manager?
I would say I'll start with the difference between the first, the second and the UPM. I call myself like the liaison between the director, the cast, and the crew. I schedule pretty much everything that has to do with the cast, all their fittings, makeup and hair, costumes, any of their script questions. The cast kind of go through me in order to find out what their schedule is throughout the entire show. And then any other questions that they have, either transportation or housing or, if they need to get hold of the director or if they have, I'm kind of like, I would say just everything that has to do with the cast is sort of going through me. And then I kind of delegate it all out to everybody else. So it kind of starts with the production office and the producers, and then it kind of goes through me, to them. Then the crew part of it is, on a daily basis, and also the prep and the post-production part of it is, where do the crew show up? What time does the crew show? Where's the parking? Where is the caterer going? What time does the crew start? What time does the cast start? Then it's sort of like making sure that they have the schedule throughout the day. And, if props has a question, special effects has a question. It's all encompassing. So it's a coordinator not only for the cast, but it's also a coordinator for the crew. And then in the prep part of it, it's more about like prepping for the day, in advance. We scout, I help with all the tech scouts. I help with getting the schedule, help the first AD, because the first AD's job primarily is scheduling and safety on set and moving the crew through the day and moving the crew through the schedule. So I help him coordinate, making sure that the crew has the schedule, which is like a 1-9 schedule that is made and usually prepared by Movie Magic, which is our scheduling tool that we use. And then, giving the schedule to the crew to make sure that they are aware of what our schedule is, whether it's a 35-day schedule or whether it's a 100-day schedule. And in some instances, the schedule, you can go through many, many different varieties and versions of it. So I help the first get the schedule out to the crew. I'm sort of like, I kind of feel like I'm just an all-encompassing director in the sense of helping the cast and the crew, making sure the director's view is moving forward. The first AD is the one who schedules the movie. It's an incredibly difficult job because he's got to talk to, locations and special effects and visual effects and grip and electric and camera, and just to make sure that everybody has the schedule that works for the company, and to make sure that if you're doing water gags, 1 week, then the next thing would be either nights, or you go into the mountains, or you go into the sand dunes, or you go wherever you go. It all has to kind of go through him so that he can decipher the best way of shooting the movie, along with the producers and along with the UPM, to make sure that we all can, move straight forward and not have any issues. If the electricians aren't ready, or if, art department or set dressing's not ready. It's all really about him scheduling it around all the departments to make sure that everybody is in tune so we can get our 100 days done. So he schedules, I help him as much as I can, and then he schedules it, and he's the safety, coordinator on the set, which is these days incredibly difficult because there have been some, accidents like in the last 5 years that have been serious accidents. And he's the one who is responsible for safety on the set as well as myself. I help him, with the safety bulletins and if there's any, safety issues, but he's the one who is really technically the one, the crew goes to if there's any safety issues. So it's an incredibly important job. And then, of course, he has to move the crew forward, not only with the cast and scheduling the cast, because, many casts have so many different avenues of they have to go to, like, let's say the Oscars, or if they have publicity, or if they have another movie, or if they have to go through some voiceovers or anything like that. He's got a schedule around the cast, which is incredibly difficult. I mean, especially on Amsterdam, because Amsterdam had so many big cast members, more than I've ever had on any other show. And they all had their own times. Taylor Swift was really important, to get her only on specific days. And Christian Bale was kind of like pretty much throughout the entire show. Rami Malek had specific days, and Mike Myers had specific days. So everybody had specific days that they could work. And the first AD is the one who schedules the movie. So he's the one, along with the UPM and the producers, that were able to get those actors in those specific days. It was incredibly difficult. Doug Torres is such a talented first AD. I can't believe his mind is incredible. And they, most first ADs have some sort of a almost like a photographic memory. I don't have that, which is unfortunate because I have to write stuff down on Post-its, but they memorize, and have such incredible memory. John Wildermuth is another first who I've worked with for the last 13, 14 years. And he's the same way. They both have like this incredible memory to be able to not only memorize the script and then help them schedule, but to get the actor schedules and then move the schedule around within their all their events. It's really incredible.
Now, let me ask, for those who are intrigued by everything you described, all the demands of second AD, what advice do you have for people wanting to become second ADs?
Stamina. I think our jobs are really 24/7 as a second, and really as a first, we are on call almost all the time. So, and that's also including the middle of the night. If an actor actually has a question at 2:00 in the morning, they can text me or they can get hold of me, and I try as hard as I can to answer whenever somebody has issues, or even a crew member, somebody is lost or doesn't have a call sheet, whatever. Then I try to help. I think it's stamina. I think it's consistency. I think it's delegating. I started as a PA and I wasn't sure which route I needed to go. In the Directors Guild, you can either take PA days or you can go, in those days, it was non-union AD days. They don't have that as much anymore. And then you can also get your DJ days through commercials. So there's a bunch of different ways to get in. I went through the PA route, and then I went into non-union AD work on Silk Stockings for 2 years in San Diego. So that's how I ended up getting in. But I think if you want to become an AD, knowing that you're going to be working 14 to 16 hours a day, it's a family unit, all together more than we see our husbands and wives and parents, and we're all together for such a long period of time. It's really about dedication and knowing that this is where your goal is, and knowing it's incredibly difficult. The hours are hard. You're on your feet, for 14 hours a day. You really don't eat much. You don't sleep much. You don't get to pee much. It's a really difficult schedule.
Gosh, you're making it so inviting. This is just It really sounds like a terrific challenge made for people who are not faint of heart. So one of the suggestions would be to get on any show as a PA, just to get experience in how a movie operates and spend as much time, and that creates relationships. And of course, it's a networking business, and so that's another big plus. So anyone who has the initiative to get on any kind of crew or get close to a crew and then get adopted perhaps on the next project of someone's, those are also paths to the goal.
Yeah, it is challenging and very difficult. But the other end of it, of course, is once you finish with the project, there is an overwhelming, can't even explain it, the overwhelming satisfaction, pride, joy that you finished something, that you've done this and you've created it, and you're on it's on the screen. And then it's also about, one day you wake up and you're in the sand dunes. The next day you wake up, you're in the beach of California. The next day you wake up and you're in Mammoth in the mountains skiing. The next day you're in Hawaii. The next day you're in Canada. Like it's so much travel. It's incredible. The things I've seen in my career are, words aren't even, I can't even express the words. Like, when I talk to my PAs and explain, why do you want to move forward? Like, what is it about? And then it's the travel, it's what you see. Some of the things I did on National Treasure, I'll never forget. Some of the things I did on Bright, it's just an overwhelming satisfaction of such an incredible opportunity that I've had in my career. And I wouldn't have given it up for anything. So it is very, very difficult and very challenging. But on the other hand, the pride and the joy and the love of the movie business and making something and creating something and seeing it on the screen is why we do it, why we love it, why we push ourselves. And Tony Scott was a director that I miss him so much. And he's somebody who you just work so hard for him. He was such a challenge, but just work so hard. And you just try to, the movies that Deja Vu and Domino and the movies that I did with him, I look back at him now and I'm just like, wow, what incredible honor it was to work for him. And I miss him so much and wish we could have continued our careers together. So, even, there are PAs that are even like friends of friends or had just gotten out of college or still in college, and that I try to bring them onto my team and then have them be a PA for a summer or have them be a PA for a month and just try to get the experience so that, this is something you really want to do, because you really have to have a gut instinct to want to do this. It's not simple. It's not easy. It's a crew of 250 every day. We all have to get along and we all have to be partners and, learn how to grow with each other and be a family. So to have that kind of experience with members on the crew, whether or not it's a grip or an electrician, like I sort of feel like when we're done with the movie or the camera department, I sort of feel like we're all such tight in together and tight in the team that we're building this relationship with each other. So there's nothing like that. It's a family within a family. It's terrific. Wow. Honored to be part of the movie industry for sure.
Wow. What is your sense of the future? How do you see the future?
Yeah, COVID was really, really hard. What it was is it was another job that was added on to all of us. We all had to, especially on Amsterdam, we had to test 6 days a week. So it was really difficult, like having to test on your sixth day on Sunday and then going in and testing every day, and then part of your crew would go down and you would depend on your crew. Because in those days, back then, if somebody went down, they were out for 10 days. Now, if you've gotten, if you've had a test or you've been, not a test, I'm sorry, if you have shots, you've gotten your shots, then you're down for 5 days. But back then you were out for 10 days. So if somebody went down on your team, they probably took another person or two people with them. So then you had to try to find a team like immediately. And it was so COVID, it was really super hard. And then it was a whole nother team of, the COVID team was a whole nother group of 20 to 25 people that were testing or coordinating tests or, where they were going to, where they were setting up. So not only did we have to set up locations, thank God for the locations department of transportation and those teams that we had to set that up too. Where do people go to get tested? Where did they test in the parking lot? Then did they shuttle? Because in those days you couldn't have more people in the van than like 15 passenger van. You weren't allowed to have more than the driver plus 4. It was crazy, so difficult. And then, you couldn't feed people. Everybody was like, you had to sit 6 to 8 feet away from somebody when you were eating. So then instead of having a 8-foot table and having 4 people at the 8-foot table or 6 people even, you could only have 2. So, locations had to have double the amount of space to find catering. You have 200 people you have to feed. So where do you find a place where you can have 50 tables with 2 people at each table and then have another area where you get 50 tables? It was so difficult. And now, thank God, it's starting to mellow out a little bit. And the mask too. The mask was a huge issue. Everybody had to have masks, change the mask halfway through the day. Some people wanted 95 masks. Some people wanted 4 masks. Were they black? Were they white? The camera crew and the grip and electric crew wanted the black masks versus the white ones because they would reflect during the day when you were filming. You wanted to have the black mask because white ones, you could see people like in reflections all over the set. So black masks were the ones on set and the white mask could be like with makeup, hair, and wardrobe. And it was really confusing and complicated. So I'm so glad that that's starting to mellow out a little bit because it was just a whole nother job added on to everybody else's job. And even in the office and the UPM and the first AD having to have COVID meetings now, rather not, it's always the safety meeting on set. And then it's like the stunt meeting and the special effects, meetings, but then you had to have a COVID meeting every morning as well. So that added on to the first, and then if somebody an actor went down and you had to, either shut down or you had to change the schedule. And we were changing the schedule constantly due to COVID issues, whether or not an actor went down and he couldn't come in or he couldn't fly, or he tested positive first day of filming. And then you have to flip the schedule. I mean, it was really, really difficult. So I'm glad that that's actually starting to mellow out a little bit. Yes, COVID's still around, and some shows now don't even have, you're not wearing masks and you're only testing once a week. So it's pretty incredible what has changed in the last couple of years. I was like, knock on wood, I was so lucky to be able to work through COVID, and Amsterdam didn't shut down at all. Matter of fact, Secret Headquarters, the movie I did before Amsterdam, that didn't shut down either. So neither one of those, actually when Amsterdam and Secret Headquarters, neither one of those movies shut down. Thank God. Like we were so militant about trying to, protect the crew and protect the cast. And crew has responsibility not to go out like on weekends and party it up and spend time out and about. And it must have worked because we didn't shut down. Other shows shut down quite a bit. One show that we were working on next to each other, in Atlanta, they shut down twice and we didn't shut down at all. So it really just depends, but that timing was 2 years of, really, man, I'm so happy that that's, kind of going away and sort of, and the cruise, think about like you were wearing a mask for 14 hours a day and how difficult that was, not only on just breathing what you were breathing in your mask and not breathing fresh air, and you'd have to go out and take your mask off. It was really difficult, and even when you were outside in those days, you couldn't even be next to anybody when you're outside. Now you can just go ahead and now, you don't have to even wear a mask. It's great.
Well, we sure do hope that that's in the past. My goodness. Christina, you've provided such a wonderful overview of the work of the second AD. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Movie Business Podcast.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.